What's the butt of this story? Noah's lying out there, sprawled out on the couch or bed area, drunk, and presumably his sexual parts are showing. And the point of the story is who showed respect for their father and tried to cover him up, and who actually did something else to their father. That's what the story's about. But it makes Noah look like a complete idiot, and so on and so forth, because the storyteller's not interested in making Noah look wonderful. So the storyteller is interested in telling you a good old story that he probably has heard way, way back in time. And it's really not even about Noah. It's about Canaan and their neighbors. It's a nasty story about the Canaanites, and now I'll tell you what the story is. Now, okay, I'm telling you the genealogies, and I get to the point where Noah is the first to till the soil, and he was the first to plant the vine. So this is obviously Yahweh's. So because he's the first to plant the vine, we get sidetracked into a story about being drunken, because anyone who plants vines and harvests grapes, you know, gets drunk in their mind. So Noah must have gotten drunk quite often, according to their way of thinking. So he drank some of the wine. And when he was drunk, he, you know, carelessly or otherwise, had himself uncovered in his tent. Now, to make the story very explicit, Ham, Canaan's ancestor, forefather, because I'm going to give the genealogies again in a moment, saw that his father was naked, and went out and told his two brothers, Shem and Japheth. In fact, the whole thing is probably based on this little poem that comes in line 26 and 27, but we'll get to that. Blessed be Yahweh, God of Shem, let Canaan be his slave. May God extend to Japheth the hospitality to live in the tents of Shem. Let Canaan be his slave. That's what this is all about. Why they have a right to sing such a song. And it clearly is a song. That Canaan is a cursed, line 25, he shall be his brother's meanest slave. And the reason is, he must have done something. But seeing the story, we are looking at it in English, we don't understand what's been done. What's been done is very simple. Shem and Japheth took a cloak, putting it over their shoulders. If this is a good translation, you may have a different one, but let's follow this one. They walked backwards because they didn't want to be tempted by their dad's situation. And they chucked the cloak over him like this, so they wouldn't uncover the nakedness of their father. Because the people who wrote these materials here from the Middle East clearly thought that even the sight of the sexual parts of a person would excite you to such an extent that you would not be able to restrain yourself from doing something. That I don't think they thought nudist colonies would work. And they don't think communal showers work. And they're feeling like Bedouins, I think, even today, that the mere sight of sexual parts, male or female, will cause sexual intercourse to take place of some kind. That's just for sure in their view. So the two older boys, they cover up their father's nakedness because they have respect for their father. Now, the implication is that Canaan didn't just see his father's nakedness, or I don't know, what's your translation there for 22, line 22, a different one than I have? See his father's nakedness? See, the implication is they feel that it isn't just seeing his father, he must have done something too. And that he must have come out and told the others that there was something to be done there if he wanted to. And that a person in that situation can't resist sexual impulse. And but they did resist. They kept their faces turned away. When Noah woke from his drunken stupor, and that's the key passage, he learned what his youngest son had done to him. So you see, it isn't just looking at him. He did something to him. You got it? Anyone doesn't understand the story? That's the point. But it's nothing to do even with Ham, you see. Oh, You know, the reason the song is about who? Canaan. But the story is supposed to be about Ham. How did Canaan slip into this? Because they want Canaan to slip into it. Because for them, the Canaanites were all Sodomites. Okay? Anybody disapprove of mine, that don't like, can't palate, it is not palatable, what I've just told you? That's, and by the way, do we really want to have children reading this book? Do you think they can really cope with this book? I don't. I personally don't think children should read this book. It's too high. It's too complex for them. And I mean, I'm not worried about the morals as such, but I don't think they can deal with this. They don't understand what they're reading. They have no clue what it's about. It's a very sophisticated book. And yet we always say, I read that when I was a kid. No, no, no. You read it when you were a kid, but you didn't read it. You just learned a few Bible stories. But you didn't read the book. In fact, that's why your ancestors used to read it when they were in their 40s and 50s, at the table and stuff, because it was for grown-ups to read. And I think people like Abraham Lincoln probably read books like this his whole life, because this is a big book. Anyway, who was I just hearing recently who was reciting the 23rd Psalm? I think it was in the National Cathedral for the service of the people down in New Orleans. You know, there are psalms that people have never been read in their whole life in this book. When I was young, we used to have a prayer in the school. I mean, it wasn't a very deep prayer. But then one of the students had to pick out a psalm and read it in the class. Now, okay, that's been outlawed, but, you know, I'll tell you one thing. It made you respect the psalms, and that you never forgot the psalms. Because someone was reading a psalm almost every single day. Usually they read the same psalm, the first psalm, the 23rd psalm, the 24th psalm. I can recite them all by heart just because of the classes we had. And I don't think that's bad. And you know, I don't care what religion you are. I think it used to be healthier, the situation. Now we have basically surrendered to Madonna and Britney Spears and gangster rap. That's okay. People can have those radios in their pockets and listen to that stuff, but nobody can say a song. I think that's really one of our big problems, frankly. The situation that has developed because of some of these over application of you know, some concepts that are not clearly understood. Those psalms were really something very high in terms of literature, and they really help people think about things and